Court with Judge Vanderby. How are you doing today?
State of Florida. My law practice is in.
Right then, that introduction. What are your practice?
We represent.
All right, guys, buckle up. This episode kicks off with Judge Vanderby introducing a Florida attorney who doesn't just know the law, she lives it across business, entertainment, and real estate. Right away, you can feel the setup. This isn't random talk.
Things. How are you doing today?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm doing great, doing great. Blessed to be here. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Are you excited?
A little excited.
Okay.
I'm ready to get into it.
Okay, good. I love the excitement. I love the energy. So let's start off by introducing yourself to our followers. Who are you?
Okay, so my name is Shannon N. Davis. I'm an attorney in the state of Florida. My law practice is MYV Law Firm. We endeavor to educate, to empower, to enable, and to equip you to turn up the volume on your legal interests. That is to maximize your voice.
I love it. I love it. That made me interested right then, that introduction. What are your practice areas?
We practice in business, entertainment, and real estate. We also provide mediation services, and we have a title company.
Interesting. So when you say entertainment, are you talking about these celebrities and such that we see on TV being ordered to pay child support and everything like that?
Yes, we do represent. We represent celebrities. We also represent artists that are starting out in their careers, and we represent different labels, all aspects of entertainment, including music, media, literary works, anything that's out there regarding entertainment, we've touched it.
Like Support Court with Judge Vanderby?
Yes.
Okay, got
yes,
you,
indeed.
Because we do have a trademark on that. So if someone needs to trademark, they'll come to you.
Absolutely. We definitely provide trademark services and copyright services.
Good to know, good to know. Okay, so let's jump into it. Now, with all of those different areas that you cover, do you do this all over the state of Florida, or are you located in a certain area?
So most of our areas, our practice areas, are throughout the state of Florida. However, as you mentioned, trademark and copyright, those are United States federal matters, and so we handle those with people in whatever state they're in.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you can actually practice copyright and trademark law in other states?
Yes, I have clients in California. I've got a client right now living in Japan. So I've got clients all over that we do trademarks and copyrights for.
I love it, I love it. Now, with these clients, child support comes up as an issue, is that right?
Yes, it does.
How
Yes,
often does it come up?
It actually comes up more often than I realized. I thought I was just getting in for the paperwork and for specifically business, entertainment, and real estate, didn't understand that there was such a large family law component.
Wow, wow. So let's talk about that. When someone comes into your office and they're trying to hire you for let's say a real estate matter, and they're trying to close on this home, but they have a lien that's on them for not paying child support, how does that affect the closing?
Yes, that is a big one. You know what? So, because it really depends on whether or not they are the person that's purchasing the property or they're the one that's selling the property.
Oh, that makes a difference.
It does, because for instance, when we have title issues, most of the time what we're doing is a title search to see if there are any existing liens on the property.
Right.
If there is a child support lien on the property, that lien has to be paid before the property can be sold to that new buyer. And so we've seen where there might be an order that was for $200 20 years ago that is now turned into a $20,000 lien, and that lien has to be paid. And some people aren't able to sell their properties because the lien has not been paid. It may be able to be paid out of the sale, but ultimately, if there's a child support lien regarding the person who owns the property, then the lien must be paid before they can sell that property.
You all hear that? Pay off those liens if you want to get that house sold, right?
And do it sooner rather than later, right? Like I said, there can be liens that have been placed, or judgment lien that's been placed years ago.
All right, guys, here's where it gets serious. Because this part exposes a brutal reality. Child support isn't just a court issue, it can literally block your life. One unpaid obligation can become a massive lien, and suddenly your dream sale turns into a dead deal. The attorney breaks down how title searches uncover liens and how buyers or investors can walk away instantly. The suspense hits hard because it shows how one mistake from years ago can stop you from selling property today.
And that lien is now sitting on you, which is sitting on your property. If you would have paid or started paying it down over time, then it wouldn't be such a burden when it comes time to sell that property.
Interesting, interesting. So you run into that a lot?
I have run into it actually quite a bit, especially when, we have investors that are wanting to purchase properties and purchase them quickly.
Right.
And they don't necessarily know what all the issues are, which is why we do a title search. We want to see what is in the public record, what has been recorded. But when those liens come up, some investors will walk away. And if they don't walk away, then they might negotiate the property down in order for the lien to be paid. So it changes the dynamics of the sale very quickly.
So you would definitely encourage people to pay off liens before they get to the point where they keep you from moving on.
Yes,
in a sense, yeah.
Pay them off, negotiate them.
So you can negotiate a lien?
You can negotiate a lien to a certain extent. For
Okay.
instance, I did have an issue that came up where there was a lien for a dad. Dad was actually living with mom. He had been supporting the child, but he had a judgment lien for child support. And so what we were able to do is go to court, file a motion to waive the arrears. Mom showed up, agreed that the arrears should have been waived because dad had been there making payments the entire time or supporting the child with mom the entire time. And so we were able to get the judgment then satisfied because we were able to get those arrears to be waived.
Wow. I am unfamiliar with real estate law, even in Texas. So I'm learning a lot just listening to you that you can negotiate a lien. I'm pretty sure that they may be able to do it here in Texas, but I just never heard of it because that's not really my niche.
Well, see, though, and the thing about it is that is different because those negotiations it's actually a family law negotiation. It's really an agreement between mom and dad that says, most of the time, that says, okay, you've been here, you've been paying. I don't want to hold you responsible for this dollar amount when you've actually been here paying and making sure that you're supporting our child. So they file a joint motion to waive the arrears and go before the court and show the court, how he's actually been supporting his child throughout that time. And I've had to do it probably about 5 or 6 times with regard specifically to real estate matters, but also in other matters.
So there is overlap between family law cases and each of the different areas that you practice.
Yes,
Wow.
definitely.
Now, I know when I practice law, I used to see a lot of overlap with family law and immigration, family law and criminal law. So to hear that there's overlap with it in real estate, and I've heard about it in probate law as well.
Yes.
But to hear about it in real estate and entertainment, this is some good information here. This is some great information. Now, Shannon, please let everybody know where they can find this excellent entertainment attorney who can help negotiate these liens for them.
Okay, so I'm Shannon and Davis. I can be located at MYV Law Firm. That's the name of the firm on all social media. Also at Voice Maximizer on social media. Our website is www.maximizeyourvoice.com. We can also be reached at 407-458-9250. Again, that's 407-458-9250. And if you even put in Maximize Your Voice, you should be able to find us. That is actually our trademark.
And I knew that because I did a little Google search on you, right? So you can sing.
I do sing.
This is a singing attorney, you guys. She can sing real good.
I do sing.
Good, good. So you do a whole lot of singing when you go to court to help these people out, don't you?
Sometimes it does feel that way. It does feel that we're in a position, whenever we put on a case, right, we have to prepare ourselves to speak to, the audience, right?
Right.
And sometimes it is like putting on a show, but yes, it does position me so that I'm sort of sometimes in a sing-song voice. With
so
regards
maybe
to
our viewers
presentation.
will get lucky and get a little note from you, right?
You might get a little baby note come out real
Okay,
quick.
baby note.
I might hook it up just a little bit.
I love it. I love it. Now, we're going to hold you to that. Me and all of my thousands of followers,
Okay.
hundreds of thousands of followers, we're going to hold you to that.
I'm not afraid.
Okay. Well, let's dig on into it so we can
Alrighty.
get around to the singing.
Okay.
Okay. So when a client comes into your office, what is your typical client? Like, who are they?
Oh my gosh. So because we have so many practice areas, our clients look different. They come from so many different backgrounds and have so many different aspects of their lives that they bring into a particular matter. So, as I said, we represent people in business and entertainment and in real estate. But ultimately, we are representing people in business as a whole. Entertainment is a business, real estate is a business. And so we are business oriented. Usually, if we have someone in real estate, we're looking at investors or we're looking at buyers or sellers, but they're doing something in the business of real estate. Right. And then if we're representing someone in a business matter, it's usually an entrepreneur or a small or large business that has some sort of contractual issues that they're dealing with individuals or other businesses. When we have someone come in for an entertainment matter, again, entertainment is business. And so whether it's an artist, whether it's a label, whether it's an individual who's seeking to register a copyright or trademark, again, they are dealing in the business of entertainment. So we are really a business firm overall, but those practice areas are the specific businesses that we assist.
Got it, good stuff. With relation to business, I'm sure you're looking at a lot of tax returns, a lot of bank statements, a lot of 1099. These are things that are really important in order for you to do your job in regards to helping somebody with a child support matter, right?
Of course. Oftentimes when someone does have a child support issue that comes up and they own a business, as you know, there are several different types of business entities that someone can work under. So for instance, a lot of people who start businesses and who don't necessarily choose an entity work as sole proprietors. When you work as a sole proprietor, and I will tell you, let me say it, let me put it out there, don't do it. I tell everybody, do not be a sole proprietor. And the reason that I say that, the advice that I give with regards to a sole proprietorship, is that you essentially take on all the liability. When you take on all the liability as a sole proprietor, then in the event that something goes wrong and someone decides that they want to file a lawsuit against you, then that lawsuit is against you and you only. Your assets that you have, your real estate assets, any sort of stocks and bonds, anything that you've got that you're holding for yourself becomes fair game for those people when there's a sole proprietorship.
And that's why they would come to you to establish an LLC, right?
To establish an LLC or a corporation or a partnership, right? Because there are several different types of business entities. Oftentimes people just create and say they want to create an LLC. And mainly it's because an LLC looks a lot like a corporation in that it gives you that liability protection, but it doesn't have as much regulation. It's a lot easier to set up and to manage. And because it doesn't have the same amount of paperwork, then a lot of people want the LLC. But if you practice, again, if you have a business that you've created an LLC and you go to a state or somewhere where an LLC is not recognized, then where they're not recognized, you now become a sole proprietor or a partnership. So again, you have removed that level of protection that you thought you had by creating an LLC in the state where you are. But anyway, with regards to child support specifically, I can have someone come in that is a sole proprietor, and they have an issue. You're trying to determine what their child support is going to be, right, based off of the income that they have coming into their business.
And I'm glad that you said that, because a lot of people do not understand how crucial that is in determining child support. I always read a lot of the comments to see exactly what it is that people are talking about, right? And people always say, you know, I own a business, child support can't touch my business. I don't have to pay child support based on what my business is making. Is that true?
Not at all. First of all, if you're a sole proprietor, which means that you're essentially taking in all the money yourself for your business, you still have to show what monies are coming in. And whether those monies are coming in through Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, cash, if you're getting paid by check, by credit card, Square, any of those types of things, those are the types of records that attorneys are going to request when you say that you have a business.
Wait a minute though, but you don't have to necessarily provide those records, do you?
Yes, you do have to provide those records. And here's the thing, what happens when you don't provide those records, right? And there are people who are like, oh, well, I'll just hide this. I have a cash-based business, so I'm going to spend money on one thing or the other, and you'll never know how much I had coming in. That's when people determine, the other party might determine, I would like to hire a forensic accountant. And a forensic accountant is someone who actually they have a specific job to see where money is hidden. One of the things that they might look at is, you might say, for instance, I make $2,000 a month, but your lifestyle shows that you probably make $10,000 a month, right? And a forensic accountant can go in and find through your lifestyle how you make those monies. So oftentimes people, and this is the best word that I have for it, you try to flex, right? You got yourself a nice car.
Now.
You got it? You got yourself a nice car. You are always wearing nice clothing. Your nails are always done. Your hair is always done or always cut, depending on who you are. I mean, and because you have all of these expenditures, then that forensic accountant is going to go in and they need to know, okay, well, how do you pay for this car? Right? Because you told me you have $2,000 a month, but you've got an $800 a month car payment. So how do you pay for the car? And then beyond that, okay, you've got a house. The house is in your name alone. I just saw that there's a mortgage on that house, right? And your mortgage payment is $2,500 a month. So we're at $2,500 plus the $800. We're already at $3,300 a month on your $2,000 a month income. Really? Those are only two things.
Yeah.
We're just talking about the car and the house and all those other things that you flexing with. Let's just be real. There are ways to find out where the money is. And here's the issue. Once somebody finds out where that money is, that forensic accountant finds out where the money is, then you can be responsible for what the other party had to pay to get the forensic accountant.
What exactly is a forensic accountant and how much does that cost?
So a forensic accountant is a specialized accountant who essentially investigates different accounts, different lifestyles, any and everything to try to determine what monies are missing or whether or not someone has fraudulently submitted their financials. And they can cost thousands of dollars. They can cost you an arm and a leg depending on essentially how much work they have to do to uncover those hidden monies.
The hidden monies that you can be ordered to pay as child support.
Yes. Not just the hidden monies that you can be ordered to pay as child support, but once they uncover that you've got all these hidden monies, you can be ordered to pay their fees. You can be ordered to pay the attorney's fees of the other party. So there's so much money that you could lose by hiding money that can be used for child support. And let me just say, it doesn't make any sense. Child support is the right of the child. There is no need to be hiding monies to be able to pay to help take care of your child. That it just does not make any sense to me whatsoever. We bring children into this world and we bring them into the world, should bring them into the world with the mindset that we're going to take care of them. So trying to hide these monies, you're wasting time, you're wasting money, you're wasting energy.
It's interesting that you...
Buckle up, guys, because this is the moment the whole video flips into straight heat. People love to brag online while hiding income in court, but the attorney shuts that fantasy down fast. She explains how child support connects directly to business income. Cash apps, PayPal, Venmo, everything leaves a trail. Then comes the real warning. Forensic accountants don't guess, they prove. Your lifestyle exposes your truth, and once you're caught, you don't just pay support, you pay fees, penalties, and credibility.
You say that because this happens so often in child support court. You'll hear someone come in and say, well, I know she makes this amount and I know he makes that amount. I know for me personally, when I represented truck drivers, that was a huge issue with truck drivers because the mother, in a lot of cases, the truck driver was the father, and she'll say, he drives freight across the state, or he drives freight within the state and he has this many deliveries and stops that he has to do and he makes this much from doing it. And when he brings in the financial form, which I know is called the financial information sheet in Texas, it'll say he only makes $30,000 a year, $40,000 a year. But what she's describing is in excess of maybe $300,000 a year.
So in Florida, that document is called the financial affidavit.
Okay, so it's similar.
It is similar.
All right.
But it is a sworn affidavit saying that you make a certain dollar amount and you're swearing under perjury, right? Under penalty of perjury.
When you say sworn, we have to break everything down on here because a lot of people don't know. This is music to my ears, and you notice I dropped a hint about music because I still want you to sing at the end.
Okay.
This is music to my ears. because a lot of this information that you're giving, I didn't really know how it worked. I knew it existed, but didn't really know how it worked actually.
Okay.
So this is interesting.
So when
Tell
we
me
talk
about it.
okay, so we're talking about this sworn affidavit, right? You were essentially swearing under oath, right, that the information that you're providing is true and correct to the best of your knowledge. You're saying to the court, you're saying to the other party that you have not provided any false information, but that you also understand there are penalties, legal penalties, criminal penalties for providing false information.
Is there a disclaimer at the bottom, or is it notarized?
Yes, there's a disclaimer,
Okay.
and it's notarized.
Wow.
And so you sign, you have to have a notary to notarize your signature, and then there is that disclaimer that essentially says that under penalty of perjury, then I declare that this information is true and correct, to the best of my knowledge.
Our financial information sheet is not like that. You do
Really?
sign it and you date it, you fill in the information, but there's no disclaimer at the bottom. It does not have to be notarized or anything like that. So essentially people can lie on it, right? Or you can still lie on it under
You could lie anyway,
it being
right?
sworn.
But
yeah.
you're essentially submitting a document to the court and saying this document is accurate and correct. The information I'm swearing that that the information that's in the document is accurate and correct. And I guess there are other ways that you could get around that. You would be able, to use that financial information sheet, right, as evidence and ask questions with regards to what they put on the sheet,
Right.
In order to prove that they weren't being honest. But Florida tries to be able to add in those different layers, especially because there are people who represent themselves. And so they want to be able to have documentation. They have a full list of forms, family law forms, so that you all can represent yourselves, but that you see, if I fill out this form and I'm lying, then I'm saying I know that there are consequences for me lying.
Oh wow. And you're accepting
Those
consequences.
consequences, yes.
That's interesting.
Yes.
When I practiced, we did a short form of the financial information sheet. So we would only just list the expenses, the monthly expenses that our clients had, and put that on there, and that's what they would sign and date. But that carbon copy that I told you about, that's more of the long form that's used in court. Do you all have like a short form or a long form?
Yes, Florida has a short form and a long form, but the short form is usually for an individual who makes less than $50,000 a year, and the long form is if they make more than $50,000 a year. I will say that there are attorneys who request the long form, especially when you're looking at people who own businesses or who own who have additional assets, because the long form is a lot more comprehensive, is going to add more information than that short form will for somebody who might not have assets or might not have as much income.
That's interesting. And I actually like that a lot. Just the idea of that. Here it is. I'm thinking, it's a difference in the short form and the long form just based on, the expenses. How many more you have one of the other, but it depends on the amount of money that you make.
It's right. It's not just expenses, right? It's income. It's every source of income, right, that you have. It is also those monies that you have to pay out with regards to your monthly expenses. But you're looking at assets and liabilities. Not just monies, but what things do you have, right, that have value, right? What liabilities do you have? What do you have to pay out? And then beyond that, right, what things are contingent? So do you have any pending lawsuits that you might be able to get monies from?
This is on your financial affidavit in Florida?
Yes, you have contingent assets and liabilities, you have actual assets and liabilities, you've got income and expenses. And again, the income from those other sources could be rental income from those real estate properties. It could be income that you receive from other child support orders. You know what I'm saying? You have to put all of that income on the financial affidavit.
Wow. You are really dropping some legal information here. I had no idea it existed.
And they don't do that in Texas?
No.
Man.
I mean, there are different forms that the lawyers themselves create that will do a lot of that, and we do what's called discovery, where we can ask specific questions and they'll have to turn over that information within a certain number of days. But what you're describing on a financial affidavit, it does not look like that here.
Now, we have a discovery process as well, which is why I said some lawyers during the discovery process are going to request that another party fills out the long form financial affidavit, even if they claim they make less than the $50,000. But like I said, and as a resource to anyone who's in the state of Florida who decides that you want to take on a case on your own, which I always recommend, even if you're going to DIY it, right? Do it yourself. Consult with an attorney first. Have that initial consultation, put the money aside to pay for a consultation, and then go through the process yourself. You want to be educated, right? You want to be enabled, empowered, equipped to move forward, right? Whether that's on your own or with an attorney. However, Florida courts provide as a resource, right, family law forms and the forms have instructions.
Are they free forms?
They are free forms.
Really?
Right? You can Google, Florida court family law forms, and you will find that there's a list of free forms for paternity cases, for divorce cases, for adoption, all kinds of different forms that will provide you with instructions, and then you can submit those to the court on your own. So you don't have to necessarily go to an attorney. You don't have to Google, just documents, because Florida provides them for you.
That's amazing. I believe there is something like that, like if you Google Texas Law Help or something like that, those forms will pop up and they'll walk you through instructions and everything like that. But I believe there's a fee attached to a lot of those forms. So the fact that Florida is offering it for free is amazing, because a lot of people, let's just be honest, a lot of people cannot afford to hire an attorney. Their only option is to represent themselves.
Right.
So I like that you are giving this information to other people who are in Florida who may need it. So thank you so much for all of the information you provided. I had to lean in a little bit because for a minute there, you took me back to business organizations in law school, talking about the LLC, but getting in more depth about, the forensic accountant, what they can do, how it can impact what your child support amount is. That was just some great information. I really appreciate you giving it to us.
Thank you, but I do want to point out, you talked about the whole LLC thing, and I harped on the sole proprietorship, but even if you create a business, right, you need to make sure you have balance sheets. You need to make sure that you've got your income sheet, right? Because you want to be able to show what's coming in, what's going out. Sometimes those documents that are created, which could be through any sort of accounting
like QuickBooks
software,
or something like that?
QuickBooks, Xero, there's so many, there's cloud-based software, there are things that you can use to be able to just input what's coming in and what's going out. Some of those documents show what money is going to the business owners. So oftentimes,
and it makes a difference.
It does, especially you think about if you're trying to hide things and you got a forensic accountant that's coming in, taking a look, they're looking at that balance sheet to see what money is withheld for the business owners, for those members of an LLC or the shareholders of a corporation. And then again, they're looking at the income, right, sheet to see what's coming in, what's going out, how many distributions you're getting as a member or as a shareholder. And if you're getting, quarterly distributions, that is, again, much more than what you're claiming that you're getting on your financial affidavit, then they're going to find it. So let's just be open and honest.
With you saying that, definitely be open and honest, guys. And I don't know if you've ever watched Support Court with Judge Vonderby.
Of course I watched Support Court with Judge Vonderby.
Well, thank you. Well, you watched the show and you've seen how people will come to court and lie about their income.
Yes.
They will lie and say, I don't make this, or, or they'll brag and then say, I only make this much because I have to pay out all these expenses and such. So your takeaway is just be honest.
Of course it is, because even with all the expenses you claim you have to pay out, you need to show proof of that too, right? And it gets down to the nitty-gritty. I've seen where people have submitted false invoices. You think a forensic accountant won't find that?
Yeah. I've seen a fake tax return. It was really interesting. It looked really legit. If you're not paying attention, it looks real legit. Because on the, depending on who does your taxes, it'll have your social, like in the corner or whatnot. That was the dead giveaway for me that it was fake. But then it was that next page that was supposed to have like where your dependents are listed. It was totally fabricated. And someone submitted that in evidence. But I haven't seen this happen in Texas courts. Maybe you could tell me if you've seen it in Florida courts, where a judge actually penalized the person for submitting a fraudulent document into the courtroom.
So I will tell you, I have had it come up where there have been documents that have submitted that have been fraudulent, and the judge In some of the cases, I've seen where the judge penalized them to a certain extent, right? Where you would have to pay attorney's fees for an attorney having to come to court for this matter to show that you submitted a fraudulent document. I at one point brought it to the attention of the other attorney because the attorney submitted those documents on behalf of the client.
Right.
And, I've seen, falsified check stubs. I've seen
that
what I'm
too.
saying, falsified letters verifying employment. I've had people say that they work somewhere, but really they were offered the job and then take the job, things like that. And I have no problem checking behind people. But yes, I have seen where there have been penalties to the extent that I was able to recover attorney's fees for having to do the work that I did in order to take that matter to court and let the judge know that no, these numbers are not correct, no, these documents are not correct. They submitted something to the court that, was untrue. And I think that the courts do take into account when you're not being honest. Right? As far as moving your case forward, a lot of the things that you'll see is that the court really only sees what you bring in.
Right.
Right. And so if you're
what you don't bring in.
Right. And so if you are showing dishonesty, right, then it makes it difficult for you to position yourself to say, well, I should only be paying this dollar amount, in child support, or I should only be only have these sort of restrictions on me with regards to time sharing, things of that sort. The judge is not going to necessarily look at you as someone who's credible, right? And when they can't see you as someone who's credible, it becomes a lot easier for the other side to say you're lying, even if you aren't, right? And for the judge to hear that and say, I don't really trust this document. Let me look at this document you submitted too, even though it's real and authentic.
Right. It questions accountability and everything like that.
Yes.
Good. So, what tune are you going to be singing for us today?
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. So I grew up in church, and I believe, that we should always give honor to God, who is the head of our lives. So I will be singing "You Are Holy."
Okay.
All right.
Do you need me to count you down?
You're welcome to do whatever you like.
Okay, let's go. We are now passing the mic over to Shannon Davis.
Thank you very much. I will take my invisible mic.
Okay.
Let me set it down so I can sing for real. All right. You are holy, oh so holy. You are holy, oh so holy. What a privilege and an honor to worship at your throne, to be called into your presence as your own. Oh, I could search the heavens high, I could search the earth below, but there's no one. There is no one, no one, no one so holy, no one so worthy. There is no one so faithful. There is no one so holy.
Okay, so what's appropriate? The snaps? Like you doing poetry? Is that appropriate?
I don't even know.
I can't remember, but you know what? That's a great way to end the segment. Thank you for that.
Of course.
Ooh, you gave me chills. You gave me chills. I hope you all enjoyed that verse from Attorney Davis as much as I did. Thank you again for being here. Thank you all for tuning in with us. Remember to like, share, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Support Court with Judge Vonda B. Bye for now.
All right, guys. This final stretch ties everything together with a strong courtroom lesson. If you lie, the court won't just punish you financially, it will destroy your credibility. The attorney explains how fake documents backfire, how courts can award attorney fees, and how dishonesty makes the judge doubt everything you say afterward. And then the ending hits different, she sings. The segment wraps clean, and it feels like a full episode conclusion. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next video.